Good evening, family. I'm Reverend Jazmine Brooks, pastor of Macedonia AME Church in Accomac, Virginia. Very grateful for the opportunity to share with you all in a moment of prayer and meditation. I have selected for our reflections the intertestamental period. I know we are all awaiting a particular text from which to draw our reflections. I know we depend quite heavily on the written word, but I want us to consider for a moment what it must have been like, what it must have felt like to experience 40 days and 40 nights of wilderness. No food, no water, no television or social media, no friends, no gatherings, and no word from God apart from Jesus' own memory. That is the experience we imitate during the Lenten season. And for so many of us, not eating is our choice. Less internet and monitoring our social hour is a test of our personal discipline. And we're watching and we're waiting for the moment that we can smell the bacon again, because we know for sure that it is coming. We know that in a certain amount of time and at a certain hour is game on. We finna catch up on everything we missed and all the food we did not eat. We know the routine because we've repeated it every year in the same or a similar way. Same choices we have in our honoring Jesus' 40-day journey does not always exist for all of our neighbors. The freedom to choose that we have does not always exist for all of our neighbors. So in our moment of meditation and in our fasting, let us be reminded that Jesus' work was in response to a world that looks just like ours. There are many who cannot afford the $8 eggs. Homelessness is on the rise because while wages stay stagnant, the rent is consistently increasing. 3 years we have been fighting COVID, and while people are still dying, the cost of testing is about to be unaffordable. Vaccines, unaffordable. We are living in a world where social anxiety and depression born of loneliness is crippling entire generations. For so many, the choice we are making to fast is not at all a choice, but a daily lived reality forced upon us by systems that Jesus came to destroy. He wasn't just called by God, but by the voices of the marginal, the hearts and the spirits of the most vulnerable. His 40 days and 40 nights of solitude and spiritual discipline was in preparation for the fulfillment of the calling of the deep, to respond to the suffering of the world, no matter the cost. To those on the margins of the Roman Empire's social, economic, and political spheres, Jesus served as a healer, without ever requiring a Medicaid card or insurance or a lack of pre-existing conditions. That's in Matthew 8 and Luke 4. He fed the multitudes, not from an abundance, but from a small lunch. That's in Mark 6 and Luke 9. Preached of God's kingdom as juxtaposed to the power of Rome's. You can find it in all of the Lucan texts, but particularly in Luke 8 and Luke 10. And counter the culture, Jesus allowed the woman with the alabaster jar to anoint him before his crucifixion. All of these texts speak to the nature of God through Jesus, to love in ways that transform communities and break the yokes of oppression. This season of Lent is among the most popular periods of communal fasting that will lead to a celebration of the cross and resurrection. I dare even to say it's among the most commercialized of our practices after Christmastide. But what must it have been like for Jesus to wander in the wilderness and know that very soon he will have to face the cross? Let us not rush to wait for the resurrection, because Jesus was on a mission, and there were moments on the mission where it appeared that God was not speaking. The 40 days and 40 nights was akin to the intertestamental period. But Jesus maintained because he understood his assignment and had already committed to seeing it through. Beloved, I know that we love a good scriptural reference and a cheery word with a compelling title to lean on. But there is a period of time in between the Hebrew text and the New Testaments, a sort of liminal space that is, like the New Testament, 400 years long, and it is the period of time where there were no books written, no prophets speaking, no written evidence that God was present and at work in the world. We are looking around at a world where for many, there is no evidence. There are no prophets, and there are no words sufficient enough to alter the reality of curated struggle. They are living in the wilderness of the intertestamental period. But in the midst of a missing canon, I still believe that the God of the Genesis is the God of the Exodus, is the God of Baruch, and is the God of the Gospels and the God of Revelation. If there must be a moment where there is no evidence, if there must be a moment where no prophets have risen from among us, if we find ourselves in the 400 years of missing canon, I suspect that that is a moment for us to determine our faith in a God we believe in when it makes the least amount of sense. I've got to believe when I cannot see any evidence of it. I don't hear her speaking. When I'm in the silence of the wilderness, preparing myself to answer the call of the deep, I believe in the God who sent me, the world that God sent me to, and that I am anointed for the journey ahead. Don't let this Lenten season be what it was last year or the year before that. Don't let your fasting be rendered impotent and a stench to God because we've left our fasting and faced the world with no fight. Let it fuel you. Let it guide you. And let it be on earth as it is in heaven. As you continue your day and you continue your fasting, I invite you into this collective moment of prayer. May the God of the intertestamental period be with us when it's hard, when it's dangerous, when we're hungry by force, and when we're faced with the calling of the cross. May we find your voice in the silence and see your face when it's dark. May your spirit go before us and sustain us in our trying. This we ask in the name of the crucified one, and say together, amen and amen. Thank you all so much for joining Rest and Rise Lenten Devotions. Peace to you. Until next time.
Thank you for joining Pastor Young and the John Wesley Church in Southfield for Rise and Rest, the Lenten Journey. Stay connected with us Monday through Saturday at 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. for Lent devotions with Pastor Young and friends from around the world. We invite you to visit our website at jwamezsouthfield.org/Lent as we journey together through this season. On our website, you will find a Lent playlist to explore songs that help us to center our minds and spirits for this season, information on fasting and fasting options, an opportunity to sign up for daily reminders, and download a free copy of the Rise and Rest devotional and journaling guide, a 40-day message. We look forward to journeying together with you in this Lenten season. We will see you tomorrow as we rise and rest with Christ.